Hey, Matt, can you hear us?
Just sent him a cat message.
Oh, me too.
Dude, things overwhelmed. Uh-oh. What's it from Ivan?
So we're unmuted now,
Okay. Let me see what this message is.
but we can't hear Bill.
Hi there, this is Matt Pierce with Autodesk.
Hey, Matt, this is Brian with HandyBot. How's it going today?
Brian, very good. Looking forward to the training today.
Cool. Well, we're looking forward to it too. So I think Ivan's on his way, and hopefully a few other guys as well.
Oh yeah, I think a lot of the people on our team will be joining in just a couple minutes.
Okay. Can you see my screen with the video of the HandyBot and the Fabmo dashboard right now?
Yep.
Cool.
Yep, I can see.
Perfect.
It's going to take a minute because I forgot that when that attachment screwed up the message, I sent the link to the attachment but didn't resend the GoToMeeting thing.
Oh, whoops. So I think we're sending the link out to the meeting again, so hopefully the other guys that were blocked by the spam filter will get it now.
Hello.
Hey, Dan. This is Brian with HandyBot. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you? Thanks for setting this up.
Oh, well, thanks, Bill. You did a good job getting everybody rounded up.
Good deal. Hey, looking forward to this.
So just checking with everybody. Y'all can all see the screen. I've got a video of the HandyBot on the right. And
Yep, I can see it.
on the left, I've got the interface that's controlling the HandyBot.
I just resent the link. It didn't occur to me that it would have peeled the whole thing out of there.
So just wondering, so how have you guys had a chance to run your tools yet? So you both have them in your office with you, right?
So a lot of us work from home, so I have mine right behind me in my den.
Cool.
And I have mine reset, and I had one issue. I tried to zero the tool the other day,
Uh-huh.
and it drove that little piece of metal down. So I must be doing something wrong, so I wanted to get some professional help here.
Oh, yeah. Well, we'll go over that. That's like one of the main things that we're going to go over. And also,
Yeah, that's what I figured, so.
I can send you one of the special Z0 plates that's unbendable. I keep those hidden here. They're made out of a better aluminum that doesn't bend.
All right, we're getting some more now.
And I've been close to getting mine work. I just haven't been able to flash that Edison board. And today I'm having trouble connecting the machine itself, but I've been connected in the past.
Okay, well, we'll do a reflash of an Edison board also and kind of cover that as well.
Cool.
Let's see. All right. So it looks like everybody might be here now, I think. Yeah.
All right, I think we're excited.
All right, cool. So everybody's all set?
Yep.
Okay. So, did you want to say anything before we get started, Bill, or?
Nope. I just glad everybody can do this. We've been talking about it for a while. It's neat to see what you're doing. I've been doing a little bit of work with I don't know if you've been following the guys engraving chocolate for the design night stuff, but I worked with them. So there's some interesting things. I think probably one of you has a HandyBot that's got chocolate shavings inside it somewhere.
I do.
You win the prize.
Out there, all I said was that as an alumni in your position at Autodesk, you would have.
That's probably about it.
All right. So first off, let me show you a couple of things that are going to make this all a lot easier. The first thing, once again, I just want to make sure everyone can see my screen. So you should be able to see on the right video of the HandyBot, and on the left you'll see the FADMO interface.
Yep, I can see it.
Okay. So one thing that you'll notice when you try to move your HandyBot around is that you always are required to authorize your move. And so what that means is you have to hit this green button on the back of the tool and just hold it down for like a second. And then that allows you to move the tool around. And that authorization lasts for 30 seconds. That's really a safety feature that we are hoping people will use if they're working in a classroom with, just to make sure that nobody moves the tool around when someone has their hands inside the tool. But when you're working on your own, it's a little bit of a pain in the butt. So I'll show you how to disable that just to make the operation of the tool when you're in your own shops a lot smoother. So to do that, you just need to go over to the configuration menu in your FADMO dashboard, and there is a sub-menu under configuration called Machine. And from that sub-menu, you'll find options for the authorization button. And all that you have to do to disable the button is just select the input and say no authorization. And now, when I go back and move my tool around, it no longer asks for any authorization. And that means that if I'm running a job and I hit play on a job, it's going to start that job right away with no questions asked. So just be aware that that's going to happen. But at least for me, when I'm working on my own, it makes things a lot easier.
I'm going to ask Jared to mute his phone so I can hear Jared in the background.
Alrighty, so the first question that I heard was about Z-zeroing, which kind of makes sense as the next thing to talk about. So let me open this up. Oh yeah, I just got reminded there's a link that Bill sent everybody to download an extra app for your HandyBot. If you follow that link and download the app, and then just install it using the Install Apps button here, and it'll be this HandyBot V2 macro installer. And once you open it up, all you have to do is just click to install all the macros on the HandyBot, and that will update the macros that handle Z-zeroing and homing and tool changes and a lot of other stuff, and we'll make those work a little bit better, make Z-zeroing a little bit more reliable. So back to Z-zeroing, you've probably been using this plate right here. And I know someone has already bent theirs up, and I can get another one sent out to you.
What do you want me to do?
To make sure that everything is connected correctly, what's really happening is the tool, this clip right here is connected to your bit, and then that completes a circuit with this plate right here. And you see there's a input number 1 that's right underneath the Z-axis position in my readout right here is lighting up when I touch this clip to the plate. That means that circuit is working. So when I connect this to my bit and the bit touches the plate, then it completes the circuit, and that's how it Z-zeros. So we'll go ahead and do that now.
Let me take this.
Yeah, I'm going to move this up and just pop this guy off. We can just set him over to the side. So Z-zeroing, you do it from the FireUp app, and then the function is called actually measuring the cutter. So what that did first was it found the X and Y home, and it bumped itself off of the hard stop at the Z-axis to make sure that it has a reference point that it can use for the bit measurement. So that way, if you lose position or if the tool is turned off and you want to come back to the same spot, you can just run the homing routine again, and it'll find the same position. So it automatically moves over the Z0 plate, and that's when I connect my clip and just hit resume. So it does a fast touch, and then it comes back for a more slow-moving touch to get an accurate Z0 measurement. So you slide this back in, and then hit resume to save that measurement.
Yeah, so can we ask questions as you go through?
Oh, please do, yeah.
Yeah, so this is Dan. So when I did mine, so this is where it just drove that piece of aluminum, you know, right down.
Mm-hmm.
And I did have the clip on there.
Right.
So did I do something wrong?
No, well, so did you have it on the bit itself or on the black collet? Okay, because
on the bit.
On the bit, okay. And that's why I would say check to see if this touching the clip to your to the metal on the Handybot actually lights up that input. Because if it doesn't, then maybe there is something wrong with that circuit, and we can troubleshoot that for you and get that fixed.
So what is it supposed to light up?
So if you see on my screen the position readout for the tool, right underneath the Z-axis, there's this list of 1 through 8 inputs and outputs. And so when I'm putting this clip to the metal, do you see how number 1 is lighting up white?
Got it.
Yeah, that's confirming that I have a complete circuit when I'm actually touching the plate. So that's how I know that this is going to work, because it's going to conduct through the bit, and that's going to connect to the plate. So if you're doing that and that number 1 input is not lighting up, then we'll need to troubleshoot that circuit for you and figure out.
Okay, I can look at that. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's clipped to the very tip where the cutting part is, it's not going to light up too, right?
Right. I mean, it'll light up. I mean, it'll make the connection when I actually touch the bit to the plate. But right now, it's not lighting up because it's isolated from the tool.
Say that again. Sorry, I'm trying to listen to the.
Oh, that's fine. So yeah, it won't light up when I connect to the bit because the bit is in the router, which is actually electrically isolated from the rest of the tool. So it'll only make the connection when that bit touches this plate. And that's how we're able to do Z0ing that way for homing.
Okay. Because I have it right now clipped to the very end because I don't have much more room above that. But if I run it, will I destroy my plate? That's what I'm worried about too. I don't get the input 1 lighting up.
Right.
Dan.
But do you get it lighting up if you touch this clip to the base plate of the tool? Does it light up?
Oh, okay. Let's see here. It does. Okay.
Yeah. So then that should work just fine then.
Okay, perfect. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So the next thing that I wanted to show you about Z0ing is how you're going to want to check to make sure that the offset between this plate and the material that you're working on is accurate, so that it's actually a reliable Z0. So what I usually do is once I'm done with my initial Z0ing measurement, I'll send the tool out to somewhere in the middle of the cutting area. So I'm going to type in 3 in the X, 4 in the Y. That's just sort of a coordinate call out. So I'm going to send to 3 inches and 4 inches. So when I hit go, it zooms right out to the middle of the cut area. And then I can send it down to what should be 0 in the Z-axis. And what I'll do is kind of check to make sure that my bit is touching the material here. And because I'm able to slide this paper underneath it, obviously it's not quite low enough. I want it to be a little bit lower. So I'm going to tweak this measurement to make this Z0 plate more accurate. So if any of you guys have ever worked with a machine shop before, you've probably done the same kind of zeroing method for an end mill. You just kind of slide the paper back and forth and slowly step it down. So I'm using this sort of directional keypad right here on this red bar, and I'm clicking the down arrow on the far right that controls the Z-axis. So every time I click down on that, it's going down by 0.005 of an inch. And I'm sliding this back and forth until the paper gets stuck. So that means that my Z0 plate, the default value was 40 thousandths too high. So we'll just go correct that in the software really quick. And oh, by the way, also, I'm recording this this meeting, so if there's anything that you guys want to come back to later, I'd be happy to post the video somewhere for you so you can kind of come back and review it if you need to. But to adjust the settings for the Z0 plate, you pop over to the Preferences tab, in that same app fire up that you do the homing routine from. And in here you'll find the Z0 plate height setting. And so the default is 3/4 of an inch. I'm going to change that to 0.79. I'm going to add in that extra 40 thousandths that I just discovered I needed. And then I could either run the Z0 routine again, or I can just update the cutter length here to 2.034, which will correct the cutter length and should make my zero measurement accurate. So I'll save that. And just to try it out, I'll send it back down again. So I'll send it up to 1 inch, send it back down to 0. And so now it looks like I got this a lot more dialed in now. And so that's pretty much all that you'll need to do. You only need to do that resetting the Z0 plate height once, and everything should be good.
Or if you bend it, if you do what happened to you before, you can put that plate close to where you think it's level and then adjust that as well if you happen to forget to put the clip on.
And once the cutter has been zeroed, it stays zeroed as long as you re-zero with that macro 3 after you repower.
Right, so I'll go ahead and run that now. So when you turn on your tool, after, you can take it on the road somewhere, get to wherever you're going, plug it back in, turn it on, and then run the XYZ zeroing routine again. Okay, so just to be sure, I'll send this back up to the middle and drive this down to 0. And that'll return to the same spot. Okay, so before we go any further, did anybody else have any questions about the homing macros?
Maybe show them how they get the same macros that you just showed them in Fire Up.
Oh,
the
yeah.
macro page.
So the macros themselves are all stored on this macros tab right here. So the one that we were using was the set 0 locations. And so if you really want to dig into it, you can come in here and, for example, you could edit where the tool goes after it finishes zeroing, but really don't need to mess with these. But if you wanted to just run them from here, it's a little bit faster. You can just hit play there, and it'll run the macro directly from the list of macros. So let's see.
So can I ask a quick question? So the FMA file that you gave us,
Yes.
should that just be copied somewhere?
So I'll show you how to install an FMA. You just use this little, there's like a blank app down at the bottom of your dashboard. If you click that, it'll open up a list. It'll open up sort of like a file search, and you can type in the name of the app that you want to install. And let's see.
So everyone, this macro and the way they're teaching you here is if you had a fixture on your system and you set that 0 position, then you could just throw stock in and out and it would always set up. Now, if you were just doing individual programs for yourselves, you don't really have to set a hard home. You can just go and touch off the X, Y, Z on any corner and just run it. So it'd be good if you guys kind of showed them that too.
Yeah, well, actually, I'm going to show them the way that I usually zero the tool, especially in the Z, that seems to be the quickest. It's kind of like a quick and dirty way, and it's the easiest for me, especially if I'm changing a bit. So I'll go ahead and change a bit, actually, and I'll show you how I will quickly re-zero it after a bit change. What you need? A pair of pliers. Okay. Something big enough to get around the. Got it.
You just want to call it wrench?
All right, so changing the bit, you can take the router out pretty easily. So you just want to unplug the power cable to the router and then loosen the couple of screws that are holding the router in the router bracket. So there should be a little 4mm red-handled T-wrench that came with your tools that can pretty much loosen any screw on the handybot. So changing the bit, this yellow button right here will lock the spindle, and then you just use the little collet wrench that came with the tool to loosen the collet.
It's also not too much problem to do that just with the spindle in the machine as well.
Right, yeah, you can leave it in the machine as well. And then we'll just clean out make sure there's no sawdust in the sort of, the area of the collet that needs to be folded up to hold the bit tight. Okay, so here's where my quick method for zeroing the tool comes in. Rather than putting the router back in there and then running the zeroing routine again, I'm just going to go ahead and send this down to what should be 0. And then once I slide the router in, and I just drop it down until the bit's touching the material, and then tighten the collet, or tighten the router bracket. And now my router is locked in at 0 with the bit directly on the material. And then just got to plug it back in, and then you're ready to go. And so that's, to me, the easiest way to do it. And if you're working on a material that's hard like wood, then that works really well. Now, if you're doing something like foam that the bit could break through, then maybe you would want to do the Z0 plate. But this, to me, is a lot faster.
Another way to do it, too, is to break your program by tools. So you have individual programs by tool.
Mm-hmm. Right. So when you're setting up a cut in Fusion, you could save each tool path out based on what tool it uses, and then you can just, the program will naturally end. You change your tool, you change your bit over, then start the next one. So yeah, that works as well. So any other questions about finding home with the tool or zeroing the tool? Now, if I want to, set up an alternative 0 point, like if I were going to, say, if I had set up a carving file that was centered around the 0, 0 location of the tool, so wherever I zeroed the tool, that's where it was going to cut the design, I can manually set the 0 by clicking these orange 0 buttons next to the axes readout values, and now that's my new home position. So if I go somewhere else in the tool and then I send the tool home by typing in 0, 0 for the X and Y, it's going to go back to that position that I just called out as home. And that way you can do sort of an alternative homing if you don't want home to be all the way to the left and front of the tool for some reason.
That's not saved. If you do it that way, it's not saved between sessions. So when you go back through the Z0 routine at the beginning, it goes back to whatever's been saved originally after a restart.
So I've got a question for y'all. So how many of you have run jobs on your tool yet? Have any of you run tool paths so far?
Not yet.
I know Ivan has, right?
Nope. I just got mine connected to the network this morning.
Okay. So now we'll skip over to running tools. So really all that you need to do when you turn the tool on is do this homing routine, get everything set up, and then you could jump right over to actually running your tool paths out of Fusion. So the Job Manager is the app that controls all of the cut files that you're going to run. So when you first come over there, you can either drag files there, or just if you click that icon, it'll bring up a search window that'll let you go find a cut file. And in this case, we're using Shopbot part files, which I believe there is a post that's active right now for Fusion that'll output a Shopbot part file. But we can also run G-code as well, if that's what you have. So when you load your file, you'll get the option to preview it by clicking the little eyeball icon, and that will give you sort of a preview of what the cut file is going to look like as it runs. You can also edit the file if you need to. If there's anything that you need to change, like a speed, a move speed, and then you want to run it again. Or you can download the job. If, say for example, if you've got a job that's been stored on the Edison for a while and it's not on the computer that you're accessing the tool from, you can download that file to your computer and save a local copy, or you can just delete the job. So once you've loaded a job into your tool, even after you delete it, it's still stored in the history of the tool. So
It's been run.
oh, if it's been run, sorry. So let me go back and load a file again. So yeah, any job that you run, sorry, then it'll be stored in the tool after that. So I'm not sure what this job is. I'm going to move the Z way up so that I don't cut into my table by accident. And we can pop that dust foot out, yeah. And so just to run, of course, hit the play button. And if you still have authorization enabled, that green button press, you would have to press the green button after hitting this play button. But I've disabled it, so I'm not going to have to worry about it. This is warning me that there's a tool change somewhere in my file. That's fine. I've just got multiple tool paths, but they all use 1/4-inch bits, so I'm not concerned about that. But if you do have a tool change, it's going to warn you here. So you can see there that if you hit that flashing stop button at the bottom of the screen, it'll pause the movement of the tool. The spindle will stay turned on and it will stay down in the material, but it'll just pause the actual movement of the cut. And from there, if you hit resume, it'll continue doing the cut, or quit will exit out and turn the spindle off. So now that I've run that job, it's now stored in my history. And if I want to, I can load it back into my queue and run it again. So now that's kind of permanently there. And if it rolls off the bottom of the recent jobs screen, I can go over to history, and I can find that job and add it to queue again, and run that again if I want to.
Do you have an option for pause to stop the spindle as well?
Not yet. That's it seems like it would be pretty trivial, but the trick with that is that it's to stop the spindle, it's got to pause, and then it's got to run another line of code. So that's actually going to be an update that we're going to release next week, because that would be really helpful for me, I'm sure. So that's definitely
in the meantime, could you just flip the power switch on the router head?
Definitely, yeah. So let me show you how to do that. Yeah, so now it's just paused, and I've just turned the power to the router off. Of course, if I hit resume and forget to turn the router back on, then I'm going to gouge into my material and possibly break my bit. But
right.
As long as you remember to turn it back on before you start, then that works just as well.
That update.
Can I ask just a real silly question?
Oh,
so the XY00, is that at the lower left-hand corner of the screen? Because if I'm looking at where that yellow area is, it's filleted. So is the 00 the filleted area?
So the 00 should roughly line up with these two marks on the base plate of the HandyBot.
Okay, so it's inside.
Yeah, so the bit 0 will be like right about there.
And just so everybody knows, I actually, and I think either Jared or Jeff, one of you has this wooden fixturing plate on it. I just took a piece of wood and I rounded the corner to match that fillet and screwed it down to the base plate of the machine, and then I just ran a contour right along the X0 and then Y0 lines, just to have sort of a fixturing plate. So any block of wood you slap in there is automatically zeroed. And I can share that that Fusion file with everybody if anybody wants it.
Yeah,
That would be helpful.
Just put a line with a V-bit on there, and it looks real. The other thing too, Dan, is there's 2 0 zeros. One is the hard home for the machine,
Right.
and then the other one is the one you set right before your program. So your XYZ 0 right before you start your program can be anywhere.
Right.
Machine hard home is one place.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, tool 00 and file 00 are not necessarily the same place.
Right.
Now, a lot of times for me, when I'll make use of that is, say that I was going to be cutting out some kind of small disk like this. If I want to do a lot of them, and I just have the file set up to cut one of them, then say I'll cut one here at home, and then I'll move the tool over, re-zero the x-axis, run the file again, and it'll cut out the same exact thing, but shift it a little bit. And I can keep on shifting the tool around and re-zeroing it to cut out multiple copies of the same thing without having to set up a big file that's going to have a bunch of nested parts and stuff like that. It kind of works like a cookie cutter that way. You just find an open spot on your board and then re-zero the tool and run the file again. Make sense?
Yeah, I think what I need to do is obviously just get in and do a job with some professional help looking over my shoulder.
I'm here for you, Dan.
I know you guys are.
I don't know where you guys are going next, but I'd really like you to show them just, okay, here's an NC file.
Mm-hmm.
You just finished it with Fusion. Now, go in, set a 00 point, and go through the process of starting the file, just all in one, not explaining all the options, but what the simplest option, the process would be.
Sure, that's no problem. So
I know it isn't, but I think that's what these guys really need to start with.
okay, well, let's do that next. So what I'll do is I'll rerun the homing routine and then just go straight into a file. So let me get my my bit zeroed. So since I've changed my bit, I'm going to re-zero it, remeasure my cutter.
Ivan, this is Jeff. Is this meeting supposed to end at 2:30, or did I not accept the right meeting?
No, the first one was just the CAM meeting, general meeting that I added on because it was always at the same time. This meeting will go as long as they're presenting.
Okay, just checking. 'Cause I may have to jump off.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm going to need to jump off in a second too.
Well, like I'm here till 5. So I'm happy to stay as long as anybody else would like. So, but yeah, definitely don't feel like you have to stick around if you've already got what you.
So, please share the recording with us.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah, this is super helpful, though.
Good.
Thank you.
No problem. Okay, so I got my tool zeroed. I'm going to go ahead and just type in 00 to send it home. And now I'll pick a job that hopefully will work with a 1/4" bit. Let's see.
So you're going to save your NC file or your shotpot file locally somewhere out of Fusion, I'm assuming.
Right. Yes.
Okay. I don't know what Pocket 3 is, but that's what we're going to run. We're going to find out what it. Well, I guess we can preview it and see what it's going to do. Okay, so this job looks like it's going to just cut out a little pocket in our material, which is supposed to be 3/4 inch thick, which is correct. So we're all good. All right. So back to Job Manager. Hit play. Is it turned on?
No.
Okay. Now we are. All right. Here we go. Uh-oh. Oh no. Well, that's an interesting problem, guys. Let me take a look at that file. That was weird about that one. There's no stop button.
There's no stop button.
There we go. So,
Welcome to a demo of your peers.
yeah. So that was a good example of that little red button on the side, which you might not be able to see. This one right here, that's kind of like the oh shit button. So if you lose control like that, then you can just hit that button and it'll stop the tool. Okay. Let me find a different file. Let me see what this one looks like.
Why did the router go?
Looked like your spindle just didn't turn on.
Well, it turned on, then it turned off. That was, and then it like didn't even let me have a stop. But I'm not sure if that was like an issue with one of the macros called at the header of that file. So we had been, Ivan and I, we worked on the post processor for Fusion a while back, because I think, Ivan, you were having a similar problem, and there was something that the post processor was putting in the header of the file that was kind of
Right.
tripping up Fabmo. So I wonder if that might have been an older file that I had run
Okay.
before. Yeah. So let me run a different one, and hopefully we'll be doing better on this one. Okay. So I've added this job blue to my queue, but it still has this pocket up here as the next job. So I'm going to trash that one, and then I'm going to run blue. Huh. Well, guys, we just updated our cards before we started today. All right, let me try one other thing. So we'll do a smooth sketch, which is like the most basic kind of job you can do. And I will just draw out something here, my name. And this should create a G-code file that the tool has no problem with. So,
are you cutting material? Are you holding it down somehow, or are you just cutting air at this point?
Yeah, the tool weighs about 50 pounds, and there's a neoprene rubber bolted all on the base, and that
okay.
tool in place pretty well. So that is not, I mean, unless you're really hogging out some material, I don't ever really worry about holding the tool down. You could, of course, you could drive wood screws through these holes in the front of the tool if you really wanted to have some extra holding power.
Yeah, I think a couple of your setups actually have a sacrifice plate already on it, and you're not through stock like that. So what you would do is clamp the piece you want to cut on top of the sacrifice plate.
Right, and or what I do a lot too is I'll save like old cardboard boxes, and I'll use those as sort of like a substrate underneath my material. That way, if I break through the material, then it's not going to cut up my table or whatever.
Okay, so your zero is really the top of the material that you're cutting. So correct. I'm thinking zeros is the bottom of the material, but it's really the top. That
depends on how you set it up in Fusion. So in Fusion, I'm sure that
for my guys and for beginning, what you guys should really do is pick the bottom left-hand corner, because it's easy to get to set your 0, 0 to touch the front face of the stock and touch the side face of the stock. So just use that to start from now, guys.
Right. Yeah, and
so, left corner.
Zeroing to the top of the material is a lot easier than zeroing to the bottom of material as well. All right, so let me see if I can get this. while that was running, you could see that there was a little progress bar at the bottom right that kind of gives you a rough idea of how far you are through the code on the job that you're running. I needed to zero the Z again to get that one down to material, but that would have drawn out that sketch. So let's preview it. The sketch that I created earlier. Yeah, so that's would just be a carving or an engraving of that sketch. So if you have like a V-shaped bit, then that works really well for doing quick engravings. So yeah, we're kind of, like I said, we had just installed a new version of the software, so we're kind of trying to suss why the router was turning off. But the versions that you have are possibly a bit older than the one that I have installed today, so hopefully this is not really an issue for you guys. So if you try out a toolpath and the same thing happens to you, then definitely email me, and I will figure out what's up with the code in your file and can get it fixed for you. So one other thing that I want to show you guys, it's just a problem that I run into myself a lot, and that is the...
1 second, Ryan.
Oh, sure, go ahead.
Jeff Lee, you still on?
Yep.
Okay, so in the gallery they have a couple more of these, and they got the post processor working good in there. So if you could get a copy of the post from them and distribute it, that would be good.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I'd love to see that as well too. I've got a customer that's working with Fusion right now that was trying to troubleshoot the post processor. So yeah, if you guys have that copy, I'd like to see it as well. So what I wanted to show y'all was the bottom of travel for the z-axis is determined by this this bolt right here, and that's really not like a hard stop. It's just there to keep the tool from like crushing any of the wiring down here. But what happens a lot of times is someone will zero their tool and think they're like ready to go, but if they're cutting through something that's an inch thick, their 0 point needs to leave at least an inch between this surface right here and this bolt head right here. And if not, then the tool will come down, hit the bolt head, stop plunging into the material, and it won't cut all the way through. And so almost, I would say 80% of the time that someone's afraid that their z-axis is broken, it turns out that we just didn't have enough travel left on the tool. So just something to be aware of when you're setting up cuts. The kind of cool thing about the HandyBot is that you can actually, not only can you remove the router or move the router up and down in the bracket, but the bracket itself has multiple locations that it can be attached to that Z plate. So if you're using like a really long bit, like later today I'm going to be doing some engraving using this diamond tipped engraving bit, which is really long. So I'll move this router bracket up to one of the upper positions to give me enough room to be able to move this engraving bit around on these dog tags I'm going to be doing down here. So just something to kind of have in your back pocket for when you need to make something work in a tall piece of material.
Ryan, do you guys have a fixture plate system with T-slots in it of some sort?
No, we've let's see, we use that on our larger tools, but you could buy a piece of extruded aluminum from like McMaster or something and make one, but we don't have any that we sell right now. Accessory things.
Yeah, I thought you guys were doing something with that plastic that the HandyBot's made out of.
Actually, yeah. Here, let me grab it. I'll be right back. I got it.
Okay, so while he's gone, once again, just to review, you design your model, you put your tool paths on it, and then when you go into setup, you set your 0 position in setup, which will be the lower left-hand corner, top of the part. Then you come in and set the tool to that same position that you set the setup point on. So it'll be the lower left-hand corner of the part, and the center of the to the center, the corner of the part to the center of the cutter.
So yeah, this one's a little bit beat up. This is the one that's been living in my garage for the past couple of years, but this is just what we call the accessory base, and it's just sort of a plastic version of T-slots, and you use the same T-nuts and screws that you would on an aluminum extrusion. And we mostly use it to hold down the indexer, the rotary indexer. But you could, we've had guys that have used this for like long boards that they want to index through the tool. You can just slide a big 4x4 board through the tool that way. And it's just sort of a nice way to keep the tool secure while you're working on something large underneath the tool.
But you don't have anyone that just goes in the handybot as it comes, right? You have to have that auxiliary.
Yeah, I think that y'all might have been a bit early. There's that piece of MDF that's attached to the bottom of your handybot when it's shipped to you.
Yep.
Does yours have any slots on the back? I'm trying to remember. There was one afternoon where I was trying to work on some boards, and I'd flip one of those over and cut slots in the back and put these little inserts in there that lift the tool up and give you kind of like a 1.5 inch sort of throughput area that you can work underneath the tool. And I started shooting that with handybots. So I'm not sure if that was on the ones that y'all got.
No, it wasn't.
Okay. Well, I can get one of those out to you, Ivan, if you want to take a look at it. It's just sort of like an MDF jig. And it just kind of makes it easier. Like I've been doing a lot of sign making recently, and it gives me an easy way to slide my boards through when I'm doing sign engraving. So
okay. You just have to show me a picture of it. I don't know what it is.
We're grabbing one right now. I'm going to show you in a second. So you got your regular test base board that ships on the handybot, but now when you flip it over, there are these additional slots that you slide these little keyed pieces into, and you just bolt them down, and then you set the handybot on top of the whole assembly. And,
oh yeah, we got that board. I thought it was something else.
Oh yeah. So if you have these little, if it came with these little L-shaped pieces, you can use those, and it creates actually a pretty effective little jig that will support the handybot and allow you to do some sort of more large material work.
Yeah, no, I'm more talking about affixing stock to the sacrifice plate.
Oh yeah.
Like if you guys have a low profile vise, or like I was thinking a T-slot table or something like that.
Yeah, there's a really low profile T-slot that we use as the deck on one of our larger tools, the Desktop Max, which might actually be pretty good for that. I got a piece of that right here as well. Let me show you that. So this is the it's like a real thin profile aluminum extrusion.
Right.
That's kind of what you're thinking about?
That's exactly what I'm thinking about. Because then you can put the shop box paint clamps on it and a bar, instantly hold stock.
Yeah, so you could like bolt this directly down to a board like this underneath your handybot. And then you'd have this nice work area. And I've used real cheap, I think it's a little cheap plastic vise that I got off of Amazon for like $20. And I've used that for when I'm doing metalworking. That way I can do multiple setups for my small metal parts. So yeah, that would be great actually. Alternatively, for the vise at least, what I've done in the past is I've just milled out a rectangle the size of the vise in my material, and then just pop it in there. And I like that method because when you actually mill the pocket out for the vise, you know that the vise is going to be square to your tool because you're pressing it up against a edge that you milled with the tool.
And the base is flat too.
Right, and yeah, exactly. And the base is going to be perfectly flat with respect to your tool. So that's kind of to me, a real quick and dirty way to do that kind of job. And you can do it on just a piece of plywood like this. You just put your tool on top of this plywood and mill your pocket into that, like someone else was saying, to make a jig.
Right. Yeah, because I was kind of thinking more of the plastic side, because then it would be easy to machine. I've got big routers, so I could cut it if I had materials.
Well, let me show you how this is put together in kind of an interesting way. So this is just two pieces of plastic, and you see how we just milled a step in this one, and then
Yep.
it's bolted from the bottom into this larger piece of plastic. So you kind of create the effect of T-slots, but just using two pieces of plastic. So you can kind of
Right.
you can make your own. And this kind of HDPE is available from, like, I'm sure you guys got plenty of it sitting around, but you can get it from Inventables or even Home Depot sometimes.
Really? What's it called?
What is it called? King Starboard. Yeah, Starboard. So it's like a.
Sometimes you call them cutting board blanks too. You can get them in like 2 foot by 3 foot or 2 foot by 18 inch.
But yeah, they sell it. It's like a boat deck material. It's the exact same stuff as this, and they sell it. It's more like natural tone colors, but you can get that at some hardware stores.
Okay. Yeah, I think all these guys need a quick fixturing system so that they can have multiple projects so they can run with, know how to set it up, and can easily index stuff out.
Yeah, I don't know if you've ever talked to Sally, but she's works with ShopBot, and she does a lot of really cool fixtures for trade shows that she goes to. Like she'll do a lot of like nameplate engraving, and so she'll make a bunch of blanks to carve people's names into, and she'll build these jigs that let her swap them out really quickly. Even like bases that'll slide out, so you can pop the base out, replace the blank, slide it back in, hit go, and it always goes to the same place. So she's done a lot of thinking on that problem.
We'll show them the collar on the router so they can change over routers instead of changing bits and something like that.
Oh yeah, Bill just reminded me of another thing that we've been doing to try to speed up the multiple tool cut process, and that's just this little plastic ring with it's kind of like a hose clamp on it, and it's a collar that grabs your router, and because you can unplug the router from the tool, it's a lot of times easier to just pop out your router, pop in a new router with a different bit in it, and start going again. And what you can do is set all of them to the exact same zero location, so you never have to re-zero between cutters. So all of your routers are sort of preset to be at the exact same position with respect to the end of the bit. And so then you just sort of have like a cabinet of routers, and then you just pop them in and out. The routers are pretty cheap. They're almost the price of the bit, so it almost makes more sense just to have a couple of routers if you're going to be doing multiple tool operations and you don't want to stop and re-zero your HandyBot in between.
Yeah, a lot of times you machined away the place where you want to zero in an earlier step, so this avoids that. They're all preset to zero.
Right. And then you can also put collars on your bits, so the bits always index at the same depth into the...
Right, yeah. Oh, Ivan, I think you had been asking about different size collets.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's
I think ship with a 1/4 inch, right?
Yeah, it ships with a 1/4 inch. I mean, that's what DeWalt sells with the tool, but there's a company called Alaire that makes sort of aftermarket collets for DeWalt routers. That's Elaire, and they have like a range of sizes. I wanted to put together like a bit kit for milling circuit boards, and circuit board milling requires these really tiny bits that have 1/8 inch shanks on them, and so I buy their 1/8 inch collet for the DeWalt, and then I can use these really tiny like 64th, 16th, or 32nd bits with my router.
So you say DeWalt only offers a 1/4 inch or 1/8 inch or 1/4?
Yeah, DeWalt only officially offers that 1/4 inch. All the other stuff is made by other companies, but they're pretty high quality. They don't go higher than a 1/4 inch. though. 1/4 inch is the biggest that'll fit in the in the tip of the router, but you can get down to like 1/8 or even like I think a 16th or something like that. So they have some pretty tiny stuff that you can get if you need it, and they also have metric as well. So if someone's using metric size tools, they have metric collets.
So I'm curious now. You said you can use a 1/64th bit on it. What's the resolution of the machine? How fine control do you have of those servos?
So the servos, or they're actually stepper motors. The stepper motors will move the tool in 1/4 of a thousandth of an inch steps. But when you factor in, you have to factor in backlash that's inherent to the frame of the tool and all that stuff. And so once you factor all that in, it comes back up to about 1,000th or 2,000ths of an inch. a 64th is what, 0.009. So you can get a lot of pretty good resolution when you're doing circuit board work with the HandyBot. So
sounds great.
Definitely powerful enough to mill through circuit boards. And now I think about it, guys, I've got when I send you the video link for this, I've also got a couple of project videos that I've done where I go through the process of creating a file, sending it to the tool, running it, setting the tool up. And one of them, of course, is about milling circuit boards, and then there's one that does like a total 3D carving job. And it's using a different software other than Fusion, but it might be useful just for the whole like setting up the tool kind of process. So I'll send links to those as well. If you guys feel like perusing those sometime.
And anything you can generate from on the Fusion to tool information would be real helpful we have a lot of our users that are using Fusion. And so,
Sure.
Any kind of information like that would be great.
Yeah, I think the best thing is just to post.
And I've also created bit kits for the HandyBot bits for Fusion. So I've got tool libraries that I can send as well if you want to upload the exact specs of the tools that come with the HandyBot.
Awesome. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think what we need to do for the field team is put together a fixturing kit and a bit kit so everybody's got the kind of the same thing, but you and I can figure that out for them.
Yeah, we'll get that all sorted. Real quick.
Or do they want to see that, Tom?
Yeah, so we're going to show you sort of more of a technical thing, the process of reflashing your cards and also just sort of the phone interface for FabMo. So we've got another tool over here set up that is powered on, and we're going to connect to a computer.
I'm just going to...
Yeah, hold on one second.
Sure.
Okay, guys, you guys all had a question about your routers or whatever being held up by connecting to the FabMo software and stuff, but you can actually don't need a computer to control it. You can actually do it off your phone, and that's what they're going to show you next.
Right, and the cool thing is that any jobs that you submitted to your tool will still be stored on the tool, and you can actually run them from the phone, even if you designed them and loaded them from your computer.
Let me go back.
So what we're doing here is we're going to the FabMo Minder app, which I think some of you have already downloaded. It's also available on app stores. And when you pull that up, it'll search your network, and it will find any tools that are connected to the network that your device is connected to. So in this case, my tool, BrianBot, is up there at the top. So green button, and that'll pop you over to your preferred browser and open up the FabMo dashboard in your browser. And you can see it looks exactly the same as the desktop version. It's just sort of compressed a bit for mobile. And so you have all the same functions, the keyboard controls, and all the apps as well. So that's just, touch screen presses will move the tool around. And you can run the zeroing routine and all that stuff from your phone as well. And so let's pull up the job manager. And so same thing on the job manager. You get a list of jobs in your history. You can pick out old jobs. Help this forward a little bit. So well, the screen is there. We go. A little bit bright, but you can see there that's our list of previously run jobs, and you can select any of those and send them back to the queue, just like you would have on the desktop version of FabMo. But a lot of times for me, when I'm going to be working on something on the weekend, I'll load my jobs up from my laptop in my living room, and then I'll tote the HandyBot out to the shop, and then I'll just run it from my phone. That way I don't have to carry my computer everywhere I go. So it's pretty helpful to me. So I think, unless you all have any more questions about that, we wanted to show you how to perform the more sort of deep updates on the card. Was there anything else?
I had a quick question.
Sure.
This is Jeff. I was having some of the network issues over the weekend, and I can only run in AP mode. And FabMo wasn't finding the bot, and now that I know that there's an iPhone app, it's still not finding the bot. So I don't know if it's an issue with my card, or just wondering if you had any ideas.
Are you sure you're on?
Yeah, I'll jump in on that. I haven't. Sorry, this is Jared. I just want to add, I have not been able to get mine to talk to Fabmo at all.
Well, let's start off by showing them how to update, and then.
So yeah, so probably the best thing to do first to start with is to update it using that USB thing and get everybody up to speed. Because I don't know what versions you guys have. These are.
Yeah, I did that. Mm-hmm.
You've already done that?
Yep.
Yep.
Has everybody done that?
I think so.
Oh.
Oh, well then maybe we're doing a review that we don't need to do here.
And does everybody show up in AP mode?
Yeah, AP mode works great for me. It's just I can't get it to the network, and I can't get Minder to even find the HandyBot.
So what happens?
I'm going to say no, because I'm not even sure what AP mode is, because I haven't got it to talk to anything.
Okay, so when you first power your HandyBot on, and you pull up the list of wireless networks available.
From your computer.
From your computer. So if you're looking at my computer screen, I've got a list of available networks here. And
to that network.
So the network...
I'll put this guy back on it.
The network is going to look something like, it's going to say FabMode-FZED and then a bunch of numbers. We're about to shoot one of these back over to the AP mode so we can see what that looks like, and then I won't connect to it because I lose my connection to you guys, but we'll pretend to connect to it. Once you find that network and connect to it, you enter in a password, which is go to FabMo. That's always the password for anything that you have to enter a password for in FabMo. And once you've got that up, then you should be, if you're connected to that network, you should be able to open the tool in your browser.
See, that's where I'm hung up at. I've tried multiple computers, 3 different OSs, and nothing.
And do you see it in the wireless network, in the listed wireless networks on your computer on the?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I connected my PC to the FabMo wireless network. I try to run the FabMo device minder, it never finds it, and then I even type in the IP address in a web browser, and it won't pull it up.
Jared, do you have the machine with the post-it on the front with some IP information on it?
Yep.
So did you get to the point where you were able to, because I think that machine was the one where I changed the login info, but it should be written on the post-it on the front of the machine. You didn't get to any point where, okay.
Yeah, for me, the Minder didn't work for me, but typing in the IP address did. But obviously switching over to the network, I don't have the new IP address, and I can't find it because I don't have the Minder working. So that's where I'm stuck.
No, so if you've got something that can sniff the network, you can usually identify what the IP address is. So the easiest way is to use Thing on a smartphone, and then you can look down through the list of devices on your network and identify the device that I think they're all made by Mura, M-U-R-A, and that'll give you the IP for the HandyBot on the network.
Okay, do you mind sending that over?
Yeah, sure. And I'm going to show you how it looks on my phone real quick as well. So I've got Thing pulled up, and I'm on my wireless network here. I'm going to refresh my list. And because there's a lot of devices connected over here, so it's searching through a lot of stuff. So once it finishes up, I scroll through here, and what I'm looking for is that Murata Manufacturing. That's the company that makes whatever the Wi-Fi transmitter is on the Edison. So that IP address right here is for another tool that's in our shop here. So, and here's the one that I'm connected to right now, that .44.140. That's the tool that I'm using up there. So you can find all of your tools using this as well if you are not able to find it with the FabMo Minder.
Is that F-I-N-G?
Yep, F-I-N-G.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
The other thing to make sure of is if you're having trouble connecting to the local network, make sure your HandyBot's actually connected to it, and make sure that IP address for the name of the tool isn't showing up, that it isn't actually failed and gone back into AP mode.
Can you say that one more time?
So if you can connect to AP mode but can't connect to the local once you think you've gotten it connected, make sure that it isn't actually broadcasting in AP mode. So you shouldn't see its name in the listed networks on your device. So it should.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
If you type in the word wrong, when you're
for me at least, it did that. It would that IP or that network name would go away.
Right.
So I knew it was working to some extent, but I just couldn't get the IP because the minder wouldn't give it to me. So my assumption was that it worked. I just couldn't get the IP.
Right.
Get to that new. Right.
Yeah. The FabMo miner is pretty strong, but it seems to me that, like, as a last ditch, using Fing tends to work better. And once you've got it connected to the network, that IP address won't change. So, unless you're away for a while and someone resets your router or something like that, then you should be fine, as long as you have that IP address like bookmarked somewhere.
And if you get completely lost, if you hold the green button down on the tool for 8 seconds or so, it sends it back to AP mode. So if
I had to learn that the hard way.
Yeah.
I ended up reinstalling the firmware like 5 times. That was like an hour. Because that was the only thing that I realized would work. And then I read somewhere that the green button worked.
The green button will take you back to AP mode. And, basically for what you guys are doing, probably AP mode is what you're going to be running in most of the time. Because if you're in a school or something, you're not going to want to have to connect to local network, to school network every time. But you do want to get updates and that kind of thing. So you do need to be able to get connected.
I have a blue LED flashing on the board. Does that mean anything?
That's the heartbeat for the low-level motion processor. So if it's going in and out about every 4 seconds, that's right.
Yeah, it's about every 4 seconds.
Yeah,
okay.
That just tells you that the underlying motion system is live.
You said it was Murata. That's what I'm looking for under my. Okay, what if that doesn't show up?
So, but you are connected to the same network, the same wireless network.
Yep.
On your device as as you think the tool's connected to.
Yep. Yeah. The AP mode no longer works. The IP address, and then I'm refreshing now. Can you guys still hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, great. And I don't see it in the Fing app.
Yeah, I still can't get FabMo to recognize it in AP mode.
What sort of network are you on?
I'm just on my home network.
Just on a regular router?
Yep.
I have no clue. Are you at home, Jeff? Because I'm in the office.
I'm at home today just because I wanted to make sure that I heard that the Autodesk network had some problems for people, so.
The problem with the Autodesk one is you have to have a username and a password. And I know there's a problem at Autodesk Office one, because rather than just having an SSID and a password like a regular network, you have to.
But that's to get it on the Autodesk network, right? I'm just trying to do AP mode.
The AP, you don't see it in the list of, or you do see it in the list of.
I see it. I connect to it. And then nothing, like I can't get FabMo to find it, and if I type the IP address in a web browser, it doesn't show anything.
Mm-hmm.
Try the IP 192.168.42.1:81.
Okay.
Just add a :81 at the end of it, just on the off chance. See if that does anything.
So I'll show you.
That pops it up.
Yeah. So if you, I'll show you what he's looking at here. So this is the sort of the back end of the tool.
So
yeah, that's showing.
You can't get in with without the :81.
Yeah, without the :81, it wasn't doing anything.
Okay.
So,
but it was an AP mode and it's just not running.
Right.
So if you go to,
you see the blue flash on yours, the heartbeat you were talking about, LED.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I do.
Oh, that's pretty unusual.
And you have done the USB update.
So if you got
Yes.
on the 81 screen, you can go to dashboard from there, and that may, in theory, restart your FabMo.
You can also do a network connection from the updater as well. So there's like a network option here, and it brings up the same menu, the list of networks available. You can click the network, type in the network key, and try to connect your tool to the network from the updater. And sometimes that works as well.
Okay, I lost you on that one because I was when I clicked on go to dashboard, it takes me to, do you want to leave? And when I say yes,
Yes.
then it says this site can't be reached, which is what it was doing before.
That's pretty bizarre. Did it do that after fresh power reset?
Yeah, I've powered it on and off probably 24 times.
Okay, and this is after you did the firmware update?
Yes, sir. I never even messed with it before I did the firmware update. That was the first thing I did.
Boy, I don't understand that one.
Should I do the firmware update again?
Well, for some reason the FabMo system's not starting right. The thing you were able to log on to is a lower level bit of software that all it really does is load the main thing and handle updates. So yeah, I'd try the update again, and make sure you let it sit powered up for 2 minutes after it finishes.
Yeah, I did that, but I'll try it again.
I have a question for you. Are you sure the cables got plugged back in on the back right? Now that I'm thinking about it, it may be that you're powered up on the Edison, but not on the connection, right?
Let me pull the cover off real quick.
Yeah, let me get one out here.
The ribbon is plugged in securely, and the 3-wire is plugged in securely, and it's plugged into the old what are they called? Bus host or whatever.
We want the USB connector, the micro connector, coming out of the OTG to feed back around and go into the big USB.
Okay, hold on a second. Okay, so the green and red that's coming out of the ribbon, you want it to go into which one?
Ignore the ribbon cable. So
okay, the other one?
Turn the card over so we're looking at the back.
All right, let me power down.
Yeah.
Pull this out.
Just jumping in here really quickly. I got mine to work using the Fing, so thanks, guys.
Oh, good.
Really
Great.
Oh, okay, that's probably it. I think I switched the USBs. So the big one goes into OTG.
Yep. And the one
Got
with
it.
the ribbon
That's
cable
the
goes
problem.
into the other one, console one.
Yep, that's the problem.
You're not the first person to do that.
Okay. Plug it back in. Check. Power on.
It's got to be a macro.
See a 90 in there.
But it's right. 90 is right. I just looked at it.
I'm waiting on the Wi-Fi to pop up on my list.
Okay. Yeah, it can take like a couple minutes sometimes. So while we're waiting, are you still there, Ivan?
Yeah.
Okay, I was going to make a list of the stuff that I should have been making a list all along of the stuff we're going to send out to everybody. So we're going to send out some ideas for jigs for holding material.
Yeah, you and I need to decide on something that they can have to hold material.
Okay. And then we're going to take a look at the post processor, right?
Right. And then a toolkit, and then collets.
That's right, yeah. Tool libraries for Fusion. And then, yeah, collet info.
Yeah, so the tool library, the tools that go with the tool library.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Hey, since you're on here too, I got a question. What did you guys do the design for that kind of rotary table with the gears?
Oh yeah, I got one over here.
What did you design that in?
Well, that was might have been. You talking about this thing right here?
Yeah.
I think that might have been done in SolidWorks actually. That was a. Well, he was an intern at the time. He works for us full time now. You might have met him. He's Dave Price.
Yeah.
Was the guy that designed this, and he was either working in. We didn't have Fusion set up at the time, so I think he was working in SolidWorks. Was it
now, is that open source or is it guys proprietary?
Is that what now? Oh, this? Yeah, this is open. Yeah. I haven't put it up on online yet, just because I haven't gotten around to it. But yeah, this is definitely open. I'd have to.
Can you have them send those files then? Sure. I can open SolidWorks files.
Okay. Wait, can Fusion open SolidWorks files?
Oh yeah.
Really?
And I can, you know.
It can open them, guys. They're just dumb models, so.
Oh, well, that's still better than, yeah. Someone sent me a SolidWorks file today, and I was trying to figure out how thick it was, and I couldn't open it, so that's good to know.
That seemed to be the problem. I'm good.
Good.
All right, perfect.
The Fabmo Minder app did not work, but I just typed it into a web browser, and it worked fine.
Okay. And then hopefully the network connection issue will also be fixed as well.
Blue was the thing, right? Mm-hmm.
Hey Jeff, so you were saying it's impossible to put this on the Autodesk website network?
I don't know if it's. I'm at home today, but I heard that there was issues with it.
Jared, I was trying to do it here in the build space, and I wasn't able to. Yeah, so what I've actually been doing, if I did want to keep my computer on the internet and connect to the HandyBot, is I've been connecting both my computer and the HandyBot to my my MiFi hotspot, because that thing only needs the password.
What else works really well, or at least worked for me today, before I figured out the network thing, was if you plug an Ethernet into your laptop and then use a Wi-Fi card to connect to the Fabmo, it still works.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
That's a good call.
It just meant that I had to put the HandyBot in my bedroom.
You can get a longer Ethernet cable.
I could, but not in the short time that I discovered this fix. So.
Definitely wants to cuddle it anyway at night.
But, I don't know, at some point we can get
manufacturing never sleeps, right?
We do have some. Lucas may be connected by Ethernet at one point. So some of you may have a couple of the HandyBots there have an extra hub in them, so you can connect via Ethernet. It's a possibility, and when we run Fabmo with bigger tools, we usually Ethernet in, but we kind of focused on the wireless for HandyBots. Unfortunately, we're doing a lot of debugging of the wireless for HandyBots too.
So is it possible currently to connect with an Ethernet cable?
If you have a you add a hub that has an Ethernet adapter in it, yeah.
Where would they find that?
Because I think that's what we would want definitely to have set up in the build space, because when people just come in and they have something that they want to cut, especially the number of people that are potentially going to be using this machine, it would be nice to not have everybody go through the the pairing process every time they wanted to use the machine.
Yeah, well, we could send you a couple of those, and then you can figure out if you want more. I mean, it's pretty simple once you see it. It's just a hub and a slightly different connector for the USB.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's just an little Ethernet hub with a USB hub with an Ethernet jack in one end of it.
Okay.
You kind of shuffle a few things. You kind of plug it into itself at some point. But I sent a couple of them to Philippe and Lucas, so they may be floating around there somewhere. I don't know if they used them or not, but when they were doing the chocolate stuff, because they had all those issues with the Autodesk.
Oh, okay. I was thinking me, Lucas. You mean Lucas Pro?
Propriac.
Yeah. Okay.
So this is the guy you need, which is just a USB hub with the Ethernet on it.
Amazon sells them.
And then a slightly different connector that plugs into the card. So it's USB A to B rather than micro USB. So we'll send you a couple of these, and then you guys can decide whether you want to do more.
That'd be great.
Then you just plug it into the Ethernet, and it'll show up on whatever network it's plugged into.
Yeah, I don't think we have to decide. We're decided. We all want that option.
And if you're Ethernet connected, it'll also be in AP mode, so you can connect a phone wirelessly to the tool as well as being Ethernet connected. So it isn't one or the other.
Lucas, if you find those, do you want to just buy a handful of them and ship them out?
Yeah, might as well. You said they're all over Amazon?
Yeah.
It's one brand, though.
Yeah, we'll send you a link at the end of this.
Perfect. Sounds good.
I'll send it off in just a little bit.
You need to stick with that brand because there is a Linux driver on the Edison forum.
Hey guys, I got to jump off, but I really appreciate your help. Thanks for everything.
Hey, no problem.
This has been awesome, guys. Thanks so much.
Yeah, and feel free to email if you ever have any other questions. I'd be happy to help out.
Will do. Thanks again.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I can stay on and talk about the fixturing board if you got time now.
Sure, why not?
Okay. So what's the you have the plastic one, but it's not currently designed for the HandyBot, correct?
Oh, this plastic one that I was just showing y'all? Yeah, that's made for the HandyBot specifically.
Yeah, but you have to have that great big support base, right?
Oh,
or no?
Yeah, you do.
We don't want to have to carry the big support base, so we'd like that T-slot to sit inside of the current machine or be able to bolt it onto a something that we have on the machine.
So would you want the T-slot from front to back or left to right?
Ooh, that's something to think about.
Man, I guess we could make it so that it could work either way, but just trying
to... it's a square.
Yeah, we'll just make it so it works either way. Okay. So let me get my... I'm sure there's some kind of sketch function on GoToMeeting, but it's going to be slower than me just drawing it on a piece of paper. So, all right. So I'm thinking... Let me get this thing out of the way. I'm thinking that you've got that base that ships with the HandyBot. Like this.
Really? A gas pen?
Huh?
You're killing me.
Oh, this
I love the pen.
This is a Christmas present from my girlfriend. It's the Pilot. I love it. So this is sort of the way that jig is set up right now. And these little steps are here, and they have like a square piece on the end, like that, which is there just to keep the tool exactly nested in the right location.
Right.
So what we could do is we could make this T-slot thing slide through here. But if the width was right, you know, if this dimension was the same as this dimension, then you could slide it through that way or that way. And then we would just need to have, I don't know, some kind of pin in here or a bolt that you tighten down that locks it. So then you could slide it in and out. And then also what we'll need to think about is looking at it from the side, like you've got your little feet that are holding the tool up, and then you've got your T-slots running through here, and then you're going to have, I guess, a vise right here, right?
Right.
So maybe you want to have a couple of different sets of these things so that you could lift the tool up high enough that the vise could slide under the tool as well. Because otherwise you're going to have to like slide this thing in, then attach your material and get it all ready. Otherwise you could just like get the vise all set up on the table, then slide the whole thing in there with your material all set up and ready to go.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking about using the feet or anything. I was just thinking of having the subplate in there, and then you just bolt this onto the subplate. Take a little time, make sure you square it nice.
The only problem is that the like if you're looking at the HandyBot like this, and you get your router right here, when the HandyBot moves forward, this bottom edge of the frame will clip anything that's taller than about 1.5 inches from here. So if you have like a 2-inch block of material here or a vise, then you're going to smack into it when you try to go forward with the HandyBot with just like this, you know, the bottom edge of that blue part right there. You're going to smack the vise. And so that's why I always, when I build jigs, that's why I always lift the HandyBot up above it and then work down into it, because really you want the work surface of your tool to be lined up with the base of the HandyBot. That's kind of like where the tool is designed to work in. So I think that we could make you something like this that'll sort of lift the tool up and give you enough room to get that vise in and out and hold a pretty sizable chunk of material in the vise without smacking into it with the tool.
Yeah, see, I wasn't going to go with a vise. Even though we might want to use a vise at some point, but I was going to go with like a bar and those cam clamps from Shopbox.
Oh, okay, yeah. So you just want to like have a piece of material attached to these T-slots, and then just have like a couple of those little toggle clamps on the corners like that.
Right. Well, so you take the bars and you make an L with the bars. And you can clamp in any size stock, essentially, if you're sliding in the...
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Cam.
Yep, I get you. Okay, so in that case, yeah, it wouldn't matter so much then. Well, yeah, I'll be happy to design something like that for you. And did you say that you have access to like a large CNC router so you can cut that out?
Yeah, I've got a 20 by 40 Techno servo.
Cool. Gotcha. Well, then, yeah, this would be no problem for you. So I can get that design done, and then I guess you'll just be able to post it and cut it out over there if that's.
Well, I was wondering if you've got that system with the T-slots now. Can you just trim one of those back to fit in there?
Yeah. Yep.
Or go with the aluminum. I'm willing to show off whatever you want to show off. So I'm figuring if you build an accessory that we need, a lot of other people are going to need it too, and then you've got something else to sell.
Yeah, and I'm personally a fan of the plastic aesthetic, and also I like that when it's plastic, it's like repairable with the HandyBot. So I think I'll design something.
Well, I like that it saves your cutters too.
Right, yeah. If you run into it, you lose your jig. You don't lose your cutter, and the jig can take a little bit of beating. So yeah.
And then you can also sell the T's as individual parts. So you might say, here's your fixture, and here's 2 extra T's for when you cut through one.
Yep.
And so you've got an expendable and a continuous need for them.
Right. Well, we're not in the printer ink industry, but yeah, it doesn't sound bad though.
Well, it's one of those things that I found the single fastest thing to success with a brand new CNC is a fixture and can parts.
Yeah.
Right? Because then they can always set the corners right, and then if you do it right and put that L to the farthest forward and to the farthest to the left, you have a great expanse of work table that you can clamp any stock in real easily.
Yeah, well, that sounds like a good idea, and I think that you're right. You know, if it's something that you guys are wanting, then it's probably something that a lot of other people are wanting as well. So that'll be a good good inspiration for finding something pretty cool.
And that's the other reason I want to use what you already have, so we can get it out there relatively quickly, because these guys want to get going started and doing workshops, and I don't think they're going to feel real secure until they have that fixturing system where they know they can just throw a piece of stock in and say go, because they have to process a lot of students when they do it.
Well, let's say that I can get something designed and ready for early next week and test it out and get it over to you.
Okay, and what size are the T-slots that you have currently?
They are, I think this dimension right here is like 3/4 of an inch, and it's for a 1/4 20 screw is supposed to fit down in that slot. So we're using like, here, let me,
T-nuts that work with it?
Do what now?
Do you have T-nuts that work with it?
Yeah, let me show you what we got here.
Okay.
Get this guy out. I got him. So we're just using these little weld nuts. They're like, you can buy them from McMaster. They're just like the low profile weld nuts.
Yeah.
Rather than, because these are cheaper than like the T-nuts that you'll buy from like 80/20 or whoever else sells them. So I just, you know, buy a bag of 100 of these, and then you can just sort of throw them in there. You can even buy nylon screws, right?
Right.
And that way, if you eat your screw up, then you're not going to be, you know, hurting your tool.
I just sent links to the Ethernet adapter and the cable you need to everybody from Amazon, and we'll send a picture of the connection, a photograph of that. The connection's sort of unintuitive but easy.
Okay. I like that. Unintuitive but easy.
Unintuitive but deep.
You won't know what the hell to do, but what the hell to do is pretty easy.
Oh, when it works really well.
Yeah, I like that system quite a bit. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think that it'll work.
And even the L bars could be out of that same material too.
Yep. Yeah, and of course, anything that's smaller than 6x8, you can always just make more of them on the HandyBot. So.
Right. Pretty cool. Yeah, that's exactly what they need.
Okay. Well, we'll get it taken care of.
That'd be good. If you're going to use that same system that you've got there with the same spacing and all of that, if you could send me one of those flat boards, then I could start working out some fixtures for projects too.
You mean this thing? Or you mean the
blue board?
Oh, the blue board. Okay. Yeah.
Right. So I can look for accessories, figure out what you're going to do. How wide is that right now? Is that wide enough to go into the HandyBot?
Yeah, that's wide enough. Here's my dirty secret. I make these as I go to ship them out for people that buy them, and I'm actually all out. So I'm going to have to make a new one anyway, and so by that time I might as well have just designed it and then given you that one. So.
Yeah, you make the one that actually fits in the HandyBot. Makes sense.
Exactly.
Okay. Sounds grand. Yeah, that'll really help everybody be able to process lots of students, and it'll actually help at shows too.
Cool. Yeah, we'll probably use it ourselves. So that sounds great.
Yeah. What does the aluminum piece cost?
This thing right here.
Yeah.
I think that this costs like $30. So I mean, like, kind of to me expensive for what it is, but I guess it's not that bad really. $30 for like a 30-inch long piece of this, I believe.
Yeah, and then how much would you actually need of it?
Well, I think this is exactly 6 inches wide already.
Yeah.
But you'd probably want about 20 inches of it to get it to be able to stick out a little bit on both sides of the handybot to give you something to grab onto.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think in the handybot, would that actually fit the whole width and possible length that you need, or is it undersized or what?
Yeah, it's about, I mean, like it's actually exactly the right size, because the handybot doesn't cut all the way over to the entire extent of this hole right here. That hole is just the size to fit the router through. So you could put that on there, and you'd be able to cut the full 6 inches of whatever on there, and as long as you slid it through this way.
Yeah. So what's the total width of that board, of the aluminum plate then?
6 inches, I'm pretty sure. We'll measure it. Hold on.
Yeah, because what you'd really want is one that was 8 with another slot extra.
Right. Yeah.
Or 10.
I think that after 3, they make them in even numbered slot counts. So you think you'd go up to 6, which would be a little over.
Yeah, see, I would go with 8 so that you can actually have a slot to put a clamp up against the material.
Right. Yeah.
You always want your fixturing table larger than your machining envelope.
Right.
So do you guys carry 8s or 10s?
No, this I just happen to have because it's part of another tool, but this is the biggest one that we use for anything. If you go to, have you ever heard of Mitsumi?
How wide is the slot in the handybot?
How wide is the slot?
Yeah.
This opening right here?
Yeah. Is it 12?
No, it's like, where's that tape measure go? Here, let's measure it. I can't recall off the top of my head. So we're
Magnus got me.
9 inches in the horizontal, and then let's see, we are 10 and a half in the long dimension, kind of rough.
Okay.
But yeah, so there's a website, there's like an industrial supply website called Mitsumi, M-I-S-U-M-I, and they sell like all varieties of this stuff, and they will cut it to length in the factory for you and send you exactly what you want. So I can send you the link.
M-I-S?
M-I-S-U-M-I. I used to use them for like designing factory floor equipment all the time, and they're a little pricey, but they're fast and they're really easy to use, and they give you free CAD models of everything. So yeah, I'll send you a link to them too.
Configurable components, huh? M-I-S-U-M-I?
M-U-S-I-M-I. I'm sorry, I spelled that wrong probably. It's Japanese.
Okay, one more time. M-U...
M-U-S-I-M-I. Wait, no. Sorry. M-I-S-U-M-I. My brain is falling apart quickly here. Hold on. I'll write it down.
M-I-S-U-M-I.
Me. There you go. M-I-S-U-M-I. There you go. I got it right now.
There you go. So you said that they're cheaper than 80/20 then, or?
They're better than 80/20. They're just more configurable, and they give you more options than 80/20.
Okay.
And they're just easier to work with because you can do everything through the web store. You don't have to talk to anybody or like pick up a catalog. You just put it in your shopping cart and order it, and it comes to you, and it's right. So I think that they're a lot better. And the stuff's prettier. It doesn't have like weird grooves on it or anything. So yeah, they make good stuff.
Good. Good to know. And so that's where you got that plate that went with that one?
I don't know. I don't know where you got where whoever bought this got it from, but you can get the exact same thing from Misumi. So we probably got this plate from some guy that wants you to order like 10,000 feet of it. So Misumi has like an inch of it.
Yeah, I think an aluminum T-slot table would really look nice on there, especially with that aluminum spindle column you got and everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Well.
All right.
We got marching orders?
I've got plenty.
Okay, so starboard is what you got. Who do you guys source the starboard from?
This company. Well, so we used to use Norva Plastics, which is in Norfolk, Virginia, but we use this company called Sabic, S-A-B-I-C, and they're actually in Raleigh. They're near us, so it's nice because they can just pop by and drop it off personally.
But if you've got like a Reed Plastics or AIM Plastics or any plastics wholesaler will have it. It's HDPE is you don't need starboard brand.
Right, yeah.
High density polyethylene.
Okay.
So any plastics wholesaler or distributor that's local to you will have it.
And they have all the colors too, or just these guys special?
They make green, red, blue, yellow, black, and white. I asked for pink one time, and they said, "Can you order like 1,000 sheets of it?" And I said, "No." So
Amazon sells it in cut up chunks too. You can just order from Amazon.
Yeah.
And what's the thickness that it comes in? I mean, does it stop at 1 inch or?
Like they have, I think they have more thicker than 1 inch.
I've not seen more than 1 inch. It's pretty heavy at 1 inch.
Let me see here. The other place I get it from real quick is McMaster, but they only have black and white, so it's kind of boring. But let me just if you're still looking at my screen, I'm going to pull this up and see what I can. So, I can get 4 inch thick.
4 inch?
Yeah.
Wow.
12 by 48 by 4 inch. That's only $550, guys.
There you go.
That's a good deal.
Okay, I got to get going, but thank you so much. You guys did a good job.
Well, thank you for rounding everybody up. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Okay.
Take care.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
See you later. See ya. See you, Matt.